In the bottom left corner, the red Zerg. Destajador. And in the top right corner, the returning Season 1 BSL champion, Shaky. Another PVZ coming up the pipe for you. We got Destajador, Platinum 1 Zerg player, taking on Shaky, the returning BSL champion. You just saw him pull out an epic PVZ in his favor, going into the late game, showing he has that element down in his game, at least at his level in the Platinum League. Whether or not that works against higher ranked players, we don't know. Double pylon block here for Shaky. Destajador pulls the 3 drones to deal with it. But it's going to take a while for these 3 drones to DPS down that pylon. Actually, I think he canceled the bottom pylon, did the probe. And we have a pool coming down for the Zerg player instead of a hatchery because of this block. And slowly but surely that pylon is going down. But we have a 135, 136 hatch. Very late. Very late. Meanwhile, this Nexus came up way before the hatchery. And the Zerg player is looking to compensate for that with a quick third base. But because of that quick third base, we have a little bit of a delay with the queen production. But it makes sense because you won't be able to go double queen, so you will be pooling extra mineral because of that delay. And meanwhile, Shaky here, his standard build that we've seen from him many times, putting his second gateway down at the front, plugging the hole with his zealot. He's going 1 gas coming, 2nd gas coming. Shaky jockeying for position in this game, trying to get an advantage with that early Nexus. Slow start here. We'll see what Destajador has in favor, what he favors. Two stalkers now coming from the gateway from Shaky. Will it be some kind of aggressive move out? Or will it be a third base macro play that we saw from him in another PVZ? Shaky, he's got that carrier transition into the late game added into his arsenal. So he feels comfortable getting that third base. It's something he's working on in his repertoire. Get the economy to build the army he wants. And meanwhile, Destajador, you know, he's taking his gas, taking his time, pumped out a few lings, 31 drones, slight worker lead, taking a 2nd gas. Injects are a tad late here. You see this inject in the main is also lagging. Something he can work on in the future. If you inject in the natural, you got to think the inject is also ready in the main. A little bit of sloppy inject timing here. Now it's down. And Shaky's putting a Robo Bay behind this. We'll see if he goes for that 3rd Nexus soon. Twilight Council as well. It's likely going to be some kind of Colossus Stalker Charge Lot army. Maybe a few Immortals mixed in. We'll see what the distribution is between Immortals and Colossi going forward. And there's the Robo Bay, so we are confirming most likely Colossi. Shaky doesn't tend to go Disruptors. So this ground army approach from Shaky. And again, we have a more roach play coming up here on the BSL as Destajador gets the roach warren up. 50 drones to 37 probes. The creep spread starting to come out a little bit. Injects are lacking though. Destajador's got to get a little bit better with his injects. We see a little bit of idle time here on this Robo Bay. From Shaky. He's got the money. He's got the supply. He just needs to make a unit. And this seems like an eternity of waiting here. There it is. Obviously waiting for that Robo Bay to come up. But delayed nonetheless. So Shaky's going to do a push out. It looks like on 2 bases. No third base being taken. He's got 4 gates and a Robo Bay. And he's looking for a gritty push on 2 bases to really punish the Zerg player. And meanwhile, he's actually probing pretty well. Although he's oversaturated in his natural expansion. He's only 5 workers below the Zerg player who has 3 bases. We see no 4th base coming down yet for the Zerg player. Taking his gases, making roaches. +1 on the way, building that 2nd Evo chamber. But we don't see a forge. Oh, there's the forge coming down for Shaky, but the upgrade advantage will go to Destajador. We see here thermal lands being researched. Hydralisk Den is down and Groove Spines is being made. Very interesting. Creep Tumors coming out for the Zerg player. Really pushing that creep forward now. But again, we have a Zerg player with mostly roaches on the field. And Shaky's gone for the Colossus as opposed to the Immortal. Something to take note of. He really loves those Colossi. And you know what? It kind of blind counters what a lot of these Zergs do in the mid-game, which is just go into Hydras. I noticed on the Platinum level, they just make a lot of Hydra Roach. So maybe there's a method to this for Shaky. He's blind countering what the meta seems to be in the Platinum Leagues, which is heavy Hydras. Shaky's coming out here onto the field. Let's look at the army sizes. The Zerg player actually has a bit of a stronger army in terms of value. A lot of Hydras on the field. He's up about 20 supply. But Shaky does have a good set of units. Those high-tech units, the Colossi, will do very well against the Hydras. The Zealots and the Stalkers should be able to hold their own against the Roaches. There's no Ravagers on the field. The army went a bit too far in front of the Colossi, though. The Zealots just ran in. And there's even one back here. Now Shaky's moving a little bit back. And now the Zerg player is moving back. Wow. What the hell killed that Colossus? I didn't see anything there. So what the hell was that? Regardless, one Colossus has gone down. Now we see the Zerg player busting down the rocks. Shaky's taking that base. That 3rd base relatively late. Putting a 2nd Robo down. Now Destajador is really pulling ahead in the supply now. He's moving across the map. Shaky falling back here, but he's got no batteries at this 3rd base location. And it's a sloppy game. Sloppy in the sense that a Colossus went down for no reason there. I'm not sure what happened. Destajador coming forward, loses a Hydra. Jockeying for position are now both players. This Warp Pylon being taken out by Lings. So actually the Colossus is really keeping Shaky in this game now. A Ling Hydra army. Doesn't fare well against Colossi. Zerg player is now going Hive as well. taking Shaky a while to get his 4th base up in this game. Similarly, the Zerg player has a lot of minerals. He could easily take these 2 bottom left bases. Floating so many minerals right now. I'd like to see him also pump out maybe 15 drones. Or 12 drones with the rest of his supply here to really give some good economy behind this. If he went up to 76, 75 workers, that would really give some sustain to remax should he lose this army here. And now the Hydras are coming in. Link's coming in through the right side. We should see some overcharges come down on these batteries. But nonetheless, the batteries are doing work. They're getting killed. And what an exchange there. The Colossi are just shredding the Hydralists, although Stalkers are going down as well. What a trade. A very dirty trade here. And the Zealots are coming out. They're chopping up the Hydras. And Shaky holds there. He's got 4 Colossus left on the field. Let's look at the active forces. After that exchange, Shaky has the army lead. There's just Lings on the field for the Zerg player. And these Colossi are coming out into the map. They're getting flanked by some Lings here. Okay, now the Lings run off. What a dirty match here. Shaky's trying to get the victory. But there's Roach Hydra coming forward. The Roaches are tanking a lot of the Colossus shots, and the Colossus are getting wrecked. And oh my god, there is just not enough army to support the high-tech units there. And Shaky maybe pushed out when he shouldn't have. Needed a little bit more of a buffer. Some more Zealots, some more Stalkers to go with those Colossi. And now he's lost all of his high-tech units. And he's really down in supply now, just like that. This match has swung the other way. And not one of Shaky's best performances I've seen thus far. Although he had a window there. But the macro here is not the best that I've seen from him, to be honest. This 4th base, it's taking forever. And the Zerg player should be able to leverage an advantage. If Shaky does not take a 4th base, he's really oversaturated. His other bases are drying up here. Let's look at the production tab. 3 range, more Roaches, more Hydra. Carapace 2. For the Zerg player coming, and 2 more Colossi. 4 Shaky. Templar Archives. Maybe once again to Storm to help with these Hydras as well. And now Shaky's finally taking his 4th at almost 13 minutes. Viper's also on the field for our Zerg player. So preferring to stick with this Roach Hydra Viper composition, which is very solid. Especially when you have Vipers thrown in there. You can get a lot of work done. Might not be the best composition, but at least this player's using spellcasters. And Shaky really is not close to maxed out here. And that's the problem. He's low on minerals. He really needs a worker transfer here. Instead of saying oversaturated with 28, just start long distance mining. Siphon off 10 or 9 workers. And a Zealots tried to get work done here with this warp pylon. Cleaned up easily by Destajador. Queens now. Destajador, sorry. Queens now. Waltzing around, spreading creep tumors. But Destajador doesn't want to take too long here. He doesn't want to let Shaky max, because he's been maxed for a little bit, has the Zerg player. So it's time to trade armies and look to remax as soon as possible. And we have an abduct coming out here. Look at this. That might be the first abduct I've ever seen on the BSL. Pretty nifty. And now Shaky's coming forward. More Colossi are being abducted. The Archons are getting wrecked by this Roach Hydra. Storm would have been more useful than Archons. Oh my god. No overcharges come down these batteries. The energy isn't very high either. These Immortals come in too little, too late. And I think Shaky needs to fall back a little bit and buy some time. But he ended up getting yoinked, and he's just getting wrecked right now by Destajador. Never seen Shaky manhandled like this. And that was a brutal matchup for Shaky. It's really that move out when he didn't have the support for his Colossi that he needed to protect them. And a gritty move out, the Zerg reinforcements of Roaches and Hydras was enough to shut it down. Just enough Roaches to tank the Colossi beams for the Hydras. At least mostly. And it's all academic from here. Shaky doesn't want to believe it. Another Archon gets picked off. So much DPS in this Death Ball as the Lynx come in. GG has been called.